IHMS.
IHMS Board of Directors Crisis Information, Analysis, and Resolutions from the Mediators, Ragach. Over the last 2 weeks, IHMS members have been approaching the leadership team to determine the root causes for the sudden split of the IHMS Board of Directors. They have been emphasizing the importance of communicating the situation to the general public, along with the approaches IHMS has considered to date, as well as the plans to mitigate the crises and continue to be the voice of Hararis under a single umbrella, with the hope to contain the crises in amicable manners. Concerned residents of the IHMS Board of Directors from both sides, Harari Youth Group, and general IHMS members approached members of IHMS Advisory Council to step in and mitigate the crisis. As a result, we the mediators stepped in, set our guiding principles and conditions with the intention of saving IHMS, but not individual interests. Our main guiding principle was to rely on the IHMS Constitution, bylaws, and code of conduct, as we were searching for amicable solutions, regardless of the positions of Founders Council or executive members, board of directors, or officers within IHMS. The groups in conflict had agreed to these conditions, and we therefore agreed to engage and impartially sort out facts from emotions and fictions, to reach an amicable resolution that will help both groups walk away with positive experiences. The ultimate goal being that IHMS will continue evolving and serving the community as a single entity. Again, our main focus is IHMS, which is the single voice of Hararis, must continue for the good of Hararis. We engaged both disgruntled groups through dialogue, personal interviews, and asked each group to summarize their concerns and provide in writing. This was done to ensure misunderstanding and misrepresentation are totally eliminated and each group's voice is heard as accurately as possible. We separately met with each group and provided an open and judgment-free environment to express themselves freely. The first group submitted a number of questions and concerns, which was forwarded to the other group seeking responses and explanations. The other group also provided detailed responses supported by evidence, where possible. We collected critical information through questions, group discussions, personal interviews, observations, and write-ups from each group. In addition, further information was also obtained from IHMS members and concerned individuals to get to the root causes of the conflict. We have drafted an amicable resolution before bringing the two parties together to discuss our findings and the options available to resolve the issues in alignment with IHMS Constitution and work for the good of the Harari people. We believe our approaches were as open as possible to sift the facts from myths, allegations, and distortions. In spite of some setbacks such as negatively charged personality attacks, undermining various mediation efforts, swearing, characters assassination, name smearing, and distortions, we tried our best not to be sucked into such negative energies and situations, but be as neutral as possible. We have analyzed information and reached evidence-based conclusions. We have also proposed reasonable recommendations. Number 1. Summary of the root causes of IHMS Board of Directors to split. In spite of many minor points of conflict, from what we have gathered, the main sources of the conflict can be summarized as follows. A. Roles and duties of Board of Directors. Performances and decision-making processes in question and holding position for life. B. IHMS ownership. Who? Founders Council, IHMS members or individuals. C. Conflicts of interest, nepotism, grouping and regrouping, issues versus personalities. D. Finances, accountability and transparency. E. Elections, facilitation, readiness, postponement, and willingness to participate. Prior to outlining the approaches, we have considered addressing these issues and reaching amicable resolution. We would like to communicate the legal definition of IHMS extracted from the IHMS Constitution, which we used as one of the guidelines. Also, note that there is IHMS's Constitution that was professionally reviewed and ratified with a 100% vote by the Board of Directors then. 2. Definition of IHMS as per the bylaw. IHMS is a nonprofit organization established solely for the purpose of delivering diverse and accurate information to all segments of the Harari society and also use this channel to educate, empower, and instigate awareness. Number 3. Approaches considered to address the issues and results. Our efforts in conducting SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, as well as application of conflict resolution methods, would hopefully lead us to the peaceful resolution for the sake of Hararis, and especially the Harari youth. We also thought we would address the current situation in a manner that we all can learn from such a crisis, and apply the lessons to make IHMS robust and follow the same resolution processes if any issues arise at any future time. We thought doing so would enable us to create a conducive working environment and productive working relationships for the incoming new generation of IHMS Board of Directors. In order to successfully mitigate the crisis, the steps the mediators considered and the status until the time the other party decided to split and turning all possible stones is summarized as follows. The summary indicates completed activities and halted activities due to a unilateral decision made by one of the groups to split the board before the release of the mediation outcomes from the mediators. The steps that were considered were firstly, understanding the issues and clarifying what the disagreements were, and the actions taken to fulfill these steps were to meet with each group, gather verbal and written supported evidence. Secondly, we established a common goal for both groups, and the actions taken to fulfill these steps were to put in place approaches that will help IHMS succeed and be a role model for addressing issues and getting to amicable resolution. Thirdly, we discussed ways to meet a common goal, and we did this by abiding to the Constitution as a common denominator. We reclarified roles, responsibilities, and expectations, and we established measurements. Lastly, we determined the barriers to reach common goals, and we did this by looking at major barriers, which was decision-making processes, communication failures, and the resolutions that were considered were to jointly agree on communication processes that worked to all affected parties. As well, we clarified roles and responsibilities and established a measure of success. Number 4. Election. When it comes to election-related concerns, according to the Constitution, the election was supposed to take place after November 2020. This is based on the IHMS Bylaw 3.7, Section 7, Elections and Fiscal Year, which states the first election of the new Board of Directors will be held on November 14th, 2020. The nomination committee will start recruiting by October 1st, and the nominating committee will be selected from the Advisory Council. Number 2. The nominating committee will nominate one person for each of the available seats to be filled to the Board of Directors by July of each year after the initial election. Number 3. New directors shall be elected by a majority of IHMS members who are present at such a meeting. Because of the unique geographical dynamics of IHMS, elections will be held online in a secret ballot. These articles clearly indicate that the Board of Directors' term has expired way before the end of 2020. Furthermore, the Constitution provides more details on the process of the election. We encouraged each party to be selfless, abide by the Constitution they ratified, and focus on the value IHMS brings to Hararis, settle to amicable resolution, and make the election successful. Points of caution and doubts are related to and 7 in the table. We have noticed some inconsistent behavior such as not sticking to the conditions set and agreed to by one of the groups. As a result, while the mediators were in the process of analyzing the findings, drafting potential resolutions, and setting up the next meeting to bring together both groups and discuss the resolutions, one of the groups decided to carry out its own decision with the knowledge of the mediators. Since the mediators were not informed nor consulted about such a decision, there is no explanation we can provide to the IHMS community regarding the rationale behind taking its own action. We, the mediators, also would like to emphasize that we heard about the split through a public announcement made by the group for the entire Harari community. We believe that the decision taken by one of the groups hindered the mediation process and still created confusion among IHMS members. However, with the information collected through various methods, we have done SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis to get to the bottom of the crisis. Based on the analysis, we have drawn our conclusions and recommendations. In addition, we would like to emphasize that the written questions and answers provided by each group, as well as details of SWOT analysis, can be made available to IHMS registered members only and/or to the general public at discretion of registered members with consent from the two groups who confidentially shared information with us. 5. Conclusions and recommendations. In spite of the crisis within the IHMS Board of Directors, it is important to appreciate the colorful milestones IHMS has collectively achieved in the last 2 years. Without exaggerating, a work of 10 years has been done in 2 years, given its programs and productions. Simply put, it is an unprecedented achievement made possible by hardworking IHMS executive body, few IHMS board members, departmental volunteers, and contributors around the globe. Conclusions are as follows. No one, including a semi-group, is above the IHMS Constitution, IHMS bylaws, and code of conduct, which applies and governs anyone within the IHMS organization. Number 2. The success of IHMS is made possible by many selfless individuals and volunteers who have invested their time, talents, skills, money, and many more resources. First and foremost, these selfless people are IHMS members and the working horses within IHMS departments, both in diaspora and at home. Over 95% of IHMS's success and credits go to these people. Number 3. Constitutionally, the IHMS Board of Directors was dissolved at the end of last year. In spite of misunderstandings arising among former board members, the election process has started as stipulated in IHMS Constitution, as was explained previously. Number 4. For the sake of transparency and accountability, the executive body and/or finance department officers have agreed to provide IHMS financial standings to date for auditing, as well as to present any financial related issues to its registered members. However, this should not be used as ransom to stop, cancel, or suspend the election. Understandably, as IHMS Media Concept initiators, the Founders Council members are individuals who are friends, relatives, cousins, spouses, and kin and kith. 17 such individuals claim to have participated in forming IHMS. However, in the process of running IHMS in the last 2 years, nepotism was rampant, and making important decisions independently seemed to be a rare occurrence within the former board. Groupthink was on display most of the time, which led to inefficient, poor board performances and disagreements, thereby paved ways to the current crisis with the intention of keeping the status quo, especially among the Founders Council. Some members of the Founders Council have claimed that they are the IHMS owners and intend to stay as board members for life. This ownership issue also widened the crisis. However, there is nothing in the bylaw indicating that the Founders Council or some members are owners of IHMS and gives them the right to have a position for life. 6. Last but not least, in spite of their differences, both groups acknowledged and highly supported the continuation, not the dismantling, of IHMS. But the reality seems to show otherwise. Regardless of the confusions out there, IHMS will continue as Harari Public Institution since it is not owned by an individual or any group. The owners are IHMS registered or eligible members and the Harari public at large. Number 6. Recommendations. We try to look at solutions from both a top-down and bottom-up perspective through consultations of the two groups, IHMS members, officers, IHMS subscribers, and external observers. They all have highlighted that both working culture and relationships, as well as mindsets, must shift to create a healthier working relationship by focusing on the objective of helping Harar, as well as handing over Harar's amana to the next generation of the board of directors peacefully. In order for this to happen, we propose the following recommendations. Number 1. Positive contributions. When you think about IHMS, think of the Harar and the Harari Republic, including the youth. Inheriting legacies and amana to Harari youth is selfless obligation. Do not dwell on looking for personal glory, attacks, distortions, and grudges that will complicate the situation. If you cannot be a solution, make sure you should not be the problem. Number 2. Finances. Although finances were not raised as an issue during the mediation processes, we learned that there are several financial related allegations. Therefore, we recommend that financial records should be made available for auditing internally and or externally. Reports should be made available or presented to IHMS eligible members immediately. The executive body from officers from the finance department need to be fully responsible for fulfilling this obligation. Financial reports must be made available. Financial reports cannot be used as ransom to cancel or suspend the election by any means. Number 3. Existence of the Board of Directors. Constitutionally, the IHMS Board of Directors was dissolved at the end of last year. As a result, the former board members, individually or semi-collectively, cannot constitutionally give themselves the right to function and run IHMS, nor have the power to revise the Constitution now, as the IHMS Constitution is revised only once a year. The next revision, reviews, and amendments will be done by the incoming new IHMS board. Thus, the election process should continue and be completed by the end of May 2021. Number 4. Election, continuation, and participation. We propose the following options. Option 1. Start afresh. All former board of directors, including the chair of the board, not to apply and participate in the election to become part of the new IHMS board members. We strongly believe that such measures will block toxicity, nepotism, disrespect, distortions, and sidelining attitudes to incoming board members. However, since the former board members already belong to the IHMS family, they can contribute, share their experiences, guide the new board of directors, and engage in all IHMS departments and activities. If this option is agreed upon, and given the onset of the month of Ramadan, the election is extended and will be completed by the end of May 2021. Option 2. Reset. Regardless of the ownership claims, since the IHMS board was dissolved at the end of last year, and the election process has already begun, the election should continue and be completed by the new deadline. At the same time, participation in the election is a key to solve the current impasse, since there is the possibility of electing new board members. All former board members and all eligible IHMS members should equally apply and participate in the election to become part of the new IHMS board if elected. The election has to be completed with an extension period ending in May 2021. Our last words. Is there a hope to mend the situation? Absolutely. Where there is a will, there is always a way. To help maintain the integrity of Harari's, both sides need to agree to resolve the issues and move on to the election and hand their responsibilities to the next board. Let the former board members start the healing process through forgiveness, apologies, and dialogue. Life is always shorter nowadays. Let's all make sure the best out of their remaining lifespan in building peace within themselves and the community at large. Uphold IHMS legacies and build on it to mitigate existential threats to Harar. Closing remarks from the Harari youth. Also, some young IHMS members have raised many of their concerns, but told us to relay this message to all former board and IHMS members. We have heard a lot, and we are not sure what to make of this crisis. It has reminded us of the many crises in Harar communities, but not wanting to set us back 30 years. Our fathers, mothers, uncles, aunties, and relatives, please resolve your differences amicably and hand over Harar's amana intact to us. Assalamu alaikum, the Mediators.
IHMs.